When I pulled into my driveway that day, I thought I was dreaming. Cars covered my front lawn, strangers walked around with clipboards, and in the middle of it all, a woman stood on a makeshift stage banging a gavel, yelling out numbers. And then I saw the banner, "Ranch Auction. Everything must go." My stomach dropped. That was my property, my home, and the woman running the auction, my HOA President Karen. When I confronted her, she had the audacity to call 911 on me. She told the police I was trespassing on my own ranch. "My name's Jacob Miller. I inherited this place from my grandfather. It's been in my family for generations, a quiet ranch out in Maple Creek, Texas. The kind of land where you wake up to birds instead of traffic, and the air still smells like rain and hay. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine, a legacy I swore to protect. At least that's what I thought before the HOA came along." The Homeowners Association had moved in about a year earlier when new suburban developments started popping up around the edges of my land. I didn't even want to be part of it, but the board pushed through some annexation deal, and suddenly my ranch was under their jurisdiction. That's when I met her, Karen Henderson, the self-appointed queen of Maple Creek HOA. Late 50s, perfectly teased blonde hair, pressed pastel suits, and that ever-present clipboard like it was a weapon. From the first week, she was on me like a hawk. "Your grass is an inch over regulation height," she said. Then, "Your mailbox isn't the approved shade of beige." Beige. She even complained that my dog barked with excessive enthusiasm. Every time I saw her coming down the road, I could feel my blood pressure rise. Still, I tried to be polite. I fixed what I could, smiled through gritted teeth, and told myself it wasn't worth the fight. My family had owned this land long before her little HOA existed, but that didn't stop her. Every letter she sent got nastier. Violation notice, final warning, possible fine. It was endless. Then came the trip. I had to fly overseas for business, some construction project that would keep me away for a month. Before I left, I made sure everything at the ranch was taken care of. My buddy Mark, who lived a few miles away, agreed to check in daily. He'd feed the animals, grab the mail, and keep an eye out. I figured I could finally get a break from the HOA madness. The morning I was leaving, I was loading my truck when Karen appeared at the end of my driveway, sunglasses glinting in the sun. "Going somewhere, Jacob?" she asked, voice dripping with fake sweetness. I told her it was just a business trip, nothing to worry about. She smirked, tapping her clipboard. "You know the HOA has rules about unattended properties. We wouldn't want the place looking abandoned." I rolled my eyes, muttered something about her finding a new hobby, and drove off thinking that was the last I'd see of her for a while. Turns out I couldn't have been more wrong. My trip wrapped up earlier than planned, some miracle of scheduling, and I decided not to tell anyone I was coming home early. I wanted to surprise Mark, maybe take a few quiet days for myself. As I drove those last few miles toward the ranch, I remember smiling when the outline of my property came into view. That smile didn't last long. There were cars everywhere lined up along the fence, parked in the grass. The gate was wide open. I could hear a crowd, laughter, voices calling out numbers. Confused, I parked and walked faster, then ran. And that's when I saw at the auction. My furniture, my tools, even my grandfather's old tractor, all being sold off to strangers waving their hands in the air. And there she was, Karen, standing on a wooden crate, gavel in hand, shouting, "Sold," like she was running the state fair. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear myself yell. "Karen, what the hell is going on here?" Heads turned. The crowd went quiet. Karen turned slowly, annoyed more than surprised. "Oh, Jacob, you're not supposed to be back yet," she said, like I'd ruined her plans. "This is my property. These are my things," I shouted. She crossed her arms and raised her chin. "Your property was deemed abandoned under HOA Bylaw 7.3b. As president, I have the right to liquidate assets to cover outstanding fines and maintenance costs." For a moment, I just stared at her. It didn't make sense. "You mean, you're selling my ranch because of grass height violations?" I said, trying to keep from losing it. Karen just smiled. "Rules are rules, Jacob. You should have read the handbook." The rage that hit me, I can't even describe it. I wanted to grab that gavel out of her hand, but before I could, she pulled out her phone. "This man is trespassing," she shrieked. "He's interfering with an official HOA proceeding. Send the police immediately." I froze. Was this woman serious? She was calling the cops on me while standing on my property. The crowd murmured. Some people looked at me like I was the criminal. Others whispered my name, realizing what was happening. I took a step back, heart racing. For a second, I honestly questioned myself. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe there was some technical loophole I missed. Could she really have that kind of power? My hands were shaking. I could feel every eye on me. Maybe I should just walk away. Call a lawyer, deal with this later. But then I looked around at my grandfather's tractor, the barn we built together, the oak tree where we used to tie the horses. And I realized, if I left now, I'd be letting her erase my family's legacy. I couldn't do that. Not again. Minutes later, I heard sirens. 2 police cruisers pulled up, the driveway lights flashing red and blue against the setting sun. Karen practically sprinted toward them, pointing at me like she'd just caught a bank robber. "Officers. Thank goodness you're here. That man is an intruder. Arrest him immediately." I raised my hands and stepped forward slowly. "Officers. My name is Jacob Miller. This is my property. I have the deed and my ID right here." My voice was shaking, but I held their gaze. One of the officers frowned, looking between me and Karen. "Let's see those documents, sir." I ran to my truck, grabbed the file I always kept in the glove box, ownership papers, title ID, everything. The officer flipped through the pages, his partner talking quietly to the auctioneer who was sweating bullets. I caught bits of his words, "forged documents." She said it was foreclosed. I didn't know. Karen's confident smirk was fading fast. "This is ridiculous," she barked. "I'm the HOA president. I have authority," but the officer cut her off. "Ma'am, these documents show Mr. Miller is the legal owner. You've got no authority here." Her face went pale. "You don't understand. He violated the bylaws." "Enough," the officer said firmly. "You're under investigation for trespassing, fraud, and filing a false report." The crowd was dead silent. Phones came out. People were recording as Karen stammered, "You can't do this. I was just enforcing the rules." The officer took her by the arm, reading her rights. Her voice cracked, turning desperate. "I'm the president of the HOA," she yelled as they walked her toward the squad car. "You can't arrest me." I stood there watching her world crumble in real time. The same woman who'd spent months policing my grass height and mailbox color was now being shoved into a police car because she couldn't tell the difference between rules and ownership. One of the officers handed back my papers. "Everything checks out, Mr. Miller. Sorry for the trouble." I just nodded, still trying to process the chaos around me. The auctioneer mumbled an apology and bolted. The crowd dispersed quickly, some embarrassed, others shaking their heads. When the police cars finally pulled away, I was left standing alone in the mess she'd made, broken furniture, half-sold boxes, my entire life scattered across the dirt. The sun had dipped low, casting a long orange glow over the ranch. It should have felt like victory, but it didn't. It felt hollow. The weeks that followed were brutal. Lawyers, insurance claims, court hearings. Karen tried to defend herself, said she thought the property was abandoned, that she was protecting community interests. The judge didn't buy it. She was found guilty of multiple counts of fraud and ordered to pay restitution for everything she'd sold or damaged. And of course, she was permanently removed from the HOA. I wish I could say I felt joy when I heard the verdict, but honestly, I just felt tired. I'd spent months fighting a battle I never asked for against a woman who thought a title made her untouchable. The ranch was finally mine again, but it would take a long time before it felt like home. Sometimes at night I still think about that moment, the gavel in her hand, the crowd, the disbelief when she realized she'd lost. And I remember standing there knowing I'd done the right thing. Because there's a point when silence turns into surrender. And if you don't stand up for what's yours, someone else will claim it for themselves. Never let anyone convince you that authority means ownership.